Hi, my name is Jessi Hattori, and my topic is on leadership. So I decided to use the article titled Valet Parker Crashes SUV, Restaurant Slow to Communicate with Owner. This article was found in the Chicago Tribune. I chose this article because it showed poor decision making by a leader in the restaurant industry. Before I go into the article, however, I would like to go over the topic of leadership first, as our book, Hospitality, Employee Management, and Supervision by Carrie Somerville depicts the topic. What is leadership? Leadership, defined by the book, states that it is the process of directing and influencing the task-related activities of the organization's employees. Successful leaders are able to encourage people to perform their duties voluntarily, willingly, and to the best of their abilities. Leadership involves other people, which are the employees, by their willingness to follow orders help make leadership possible. As the book states, without employees, leadership qualities remain irrelevant and ineffective. There are three theories that have been used to study what leadership is. The trait approach to leadership compares traits of effective leaders to those of ineffective ones. What they found was that effective leaders were bright, extroverted, and self-confident. The behavioral approach to leadership studies, they studied the behaviors effective leaders exhibited. They have found that the behaviors that led to success lie in the organizational culture, nature of tasks, and nature of employees. The last theory studies personalities and situational factors. Past experiences, expectations of peers and managers, and characteristics of employees are studied under this. Next, we're going to take a look at what the difference is between managers and leaders. What are some of the differences between them as to how they motivate their workers? Managers tend to instill fear and uncertainty in their workers. However, leaders, on the other hand, guide people and inspire enthusiasm in the workplace. How do their attitudes differ? Managers use a go, do it attitude, whereas a leader would use a let's go attitude. How do they influence employee morale? Managers tend to decrease morale by overworking their employees, and leaders will make work more interesting, which will boost morale in the workplace. I've had employers in the past who would create contests where you could win prizes to influence us to work harder, but with more excitement. For example, the person with the most sales gets a gift card to Gibson Steakhouse. Contests like this encourages employees to boost sales without wearing them out or decreasing morale. And lastly, what are their top priorities? Managers worry about themselves and seek credit for themselves. Leaders worry about the team and gives credit where credit is due. Before going to my article, I want you all to remember this last point. We should all strive to be charismatic leaders. The study of charismatic leaders focuses on individuals who have exceptional impact on their organizations. These are people who are not content with doing things according to the status quo and want to improve and change things. These individuals possess a compelling vision of sense or purpose. They have an ability to communicate their vision in clear terms that followers can understand. They demonstrate consistency and focus in their leadership efforts, and they understand their own strengths. So now we will move on to my article. Again, I chose this article because I feel it highlights a very important aspect of leadership that hasn't been discussed yet: taking responsibility. Leaders must take responsibility for everything that happens in a company, from low sales to complaints from customers. Leaders take responsibility for not only their actions, but the actions of their employees. If a steak is not cooked properly and a manager is called over to a table, the manager isn't going to blame the line cook and say it's the line cook's fault. They will take that problem as if it's their own, as if they cooked that steak, and apologize for it being incorrect as if they had done it. This article is a great example of a leader ignoring this key aspect of leadership. So in the article, a woman named Shirley Calergis was leaving a wedding reception at Salvatore's restaurant in Lincoln Park. while she was waiting for her car to come up from the valet, she witnessed the driver crash her Lexus SUV. She called the restaurant the next morning to discuss damages, and she was told to email pictures to Salvatore's of her damaged car. After Colergis did what they had asked, Salvatore's replied acknowledging they had received the pictures and that they'll contact her soon afterwards. However, they never did contact her. Colergis went and received an estimate of $1,000.43 for the damages. She forwarded this information to the restaurant, and she was also ignored again. Colergis called the restaurant and was told to file the claim with her insurance, which meant that they weren't going to take the blame for their valet driver crashing her car. Shirley decided to go to the press to get her car fixed. She called Chicago Tribune's problem solver, who contacted Salvatore's owner, Sharif Jessi. Sharif said that she knew about the incident and admitted that she was unresponsive. Jessi blamed her busy life with owning a bar and a restaurant and being a mom. After a second estimate of $745 was made, Jessi agreed to pay for the damages and claimed she has improved communication between employees and employers. So those are the facts. There's a lot we can learn from this article that pertains to leadership skills. As a leader, you need to take responsibility for the faults of not only yourself, but for the rest of your employees. For Jessi to ignore the accident shows that she was not taking liability for the situation and therefore exhibited poor leadership skills. Even though she was not the one who physically crashed the car, it is still her responsibility. With something as serious and as expensive as this, a good leader would use extreme care and attention. Next, Jessi admitted to a problem with communication in her restaurant. A good leader would make sure they were available and reachable in case of an emergency. They should also be updated frequently on any issues going on in the business. Having a busy lifestyle is no excuse for ignoring important matters, especially if it's between a customer and a business. There must be a way to organize and communicate between employees and employer. This article teaches a lot to business owners as well. As leaders, problems cannot be ignored, otherwise they will worsen. In the case of Shirley Colergis, we saw that customers are not going to forgive and forget on certain accidents, especially as big as this one. Because she was ignored by the restaurant owner, but bad publicity has now come to Salvatore's restaurant. This article was seen by thousands of people who read the Chicago Tribune. If Jessi had dealt with the problem right away, Colergis would not have looked for help elsewhere. Bad news travels faster than good news. And for thousands of people who read this, they may have second thoughts to dining at this restaurant just because of the poor management that has been seen here. As a leader, Sharif should have realized that ignoring the problem could only lead to a poor outcome. This article should show leaders that you must take responsibility for any mishaps that happen in your restaurant. It shows that a clear communication system between employees and employers is important as well. If a leader does not enforce these ideas, they are jeopardizing their business. It is very simple to create a communication system that works. For example, you can have a meeting with your host or hostess before service to discuss any phone calls or problems that have occurred. And also you should make sure all of your employees have your phone number and your email address, and you should be reachable at any time if an incident occurs like this one. You should also encourage your employees to use your number as much as possible so they do not feel scared to call you up whenever something happens. These are all things that can help avoid problems and create a good leader. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation on leadership, and I hope that you have been able to learn something from it. Thank you.